Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and now that the dust is settling a little bit after the big Diablo 4 patch for Season 1, where now we understand some of the details, and we have been able to jump in and test things out overnight and discuss things as a community, I wanted to get an updated class, like state of each class discussion and a tier list out here for starting in Season 1. Now, eventually, here in a week or two, we'll have to do a tier list talking about the end game once every class is like level 90 plus and has a min-max build. I'll have to do a revisit of this and rank all the classes in the end game, but right now I'm going to talk about as a season starter and talk about the state of each class. Let's get into it. Alrighty, so also, by the way, over on the community tab, I did do a poll asking you, the audience, for Diablo 4, now that the patch has dropped, which class do you plan on playing first in Season 1? And it looks like the Rogue is by far and away going to be the most popular choice, at least out of YouTube viewers here on my channel, with almost 40% of the vote going to one class. And actually, something that really surprised me is the Barbarian is barely more popular than the Sorcerer. I would have thought Sorcerer, like the 10% doesn't shock me too much for Sorcerer, but I thought there would have been a little bit of a better distribution towards the Barbarian. I thought Barbarian would have been closer to 20%, and also Druid being almost half of the Rogue certainly surprises me. The Druid has a lot of really cool builds and a lot of really viable builds in the end game, and I thought it would be a more popular class. I would have guessed before I did the poll that Rogue would have been kind of tied with Druid, 1 and 2. Barb would have been 3rd, Necro would have been 4th, and then Sorc would have been 5th at like 6 or 7%. So people are holding strong on the Sorcerer and playing it almost as common as the Barbarian for a season starter. But okay, let's go with each class here in order, starting from Barbarian and working our way over to Sorcerer, and we'll place each class here as a season starter in general. So for the Barb, starting out here, so I mean, it's gonna be decent. They did adjust a little bit of the annoyances, or at least they say the annoyances of leveling and some of the mobs running away frantically from you while you're trying to kill things as a melee character. So hopefully the 1 to 50 process is gonna be a little bit better on the Barb and the Druid. Whirlwind is a great choice for a season starter build, and you're going to be able to kind of get it up and running and clear content pretty decent to start speed farming right away. So I think Barb has got to still go in the A tier. There might not be any class that's in the S tier, honestly, although Rogue may be close. We'll talk about Rogue here in a little bit, but yeah, I think Barb, your clear choice for the first build you want to do is going to be getting that Whirlwind up and running and start speed farming content as best you can, and it should be a pretty solid season starter. Then for the Druid, so Druid, so it's going to be, I would probably put this in the S tier, but Druid is going to struggle a little bit on the leveling process, and most players might find it a little bit slow and underwhelming from like that 1 to 50 experience. But I think once you do get like the tough stuff to find, the like the Tempest item, and you have everything kind of rolling with your build, that the Druid's going to be a great class choice. But because of the leveling experience being a little bit slow on the Druid, and it's like high A or low S, we're gonna kind of put that right there for now. Then for the Necro, so Necro, it looks like Bone Spear is still slapping pretty decent. You've got some different choices between your summons and your Bone Spear and some different options available to you. I think you're still going to do really good damage in the end game. It's a little bit rough that you can't break CC super reliably, and the lack of mobility on the Necro is going to be a little bit lame, but I still think it's going to be perfectly fine as a season starter. And remember, we're grading everything in relation to the 5 different classes. Obviously, everything got nerfed. If we're comparing everything to 4 days ago, then we got to kind of do this tier list like this and put everything like this on the board if we're comparing to a week ago. But we're not doing that. We're comparing to the current context of the game and ranking the classes amongst each other. So we're going to go ahead and kind of start right there, and I'm going to put Necro in the B tier. I think it's solid, and it'll keep up mostly fine. Then for the Rogue, you know what? This might be a hot take, but I am going to put the Rogue in the S tier. I just think it's so consistent, it's so linearly scaled that it's going to be a really good option for a season starter. Like if you're just looking for like, what's a class where I'm going to be consistent? Leveling 1 to 40, and then in the mid game, like 40 to 75, and then in the end game, like 75 plus. What's like the one class that I know will just progress at a good pace that whole time linearly? I'm going to go with the Rogue, and I'm going to put it in S tier in relation to other stuff. Obviously, it's not going to be like what it was 3 days ago, but in relation to the game as we know it right now, I'm going to go with Rogue and S as a season starter. And I had to zoom in a little bit there because we got everything on the board now. So the Sork, obviously, we're going to go C or F. Now, the thing with Sork is, like, you do have a really good leveling build, that first push, like 1 to 30, with Arc Lash and some of the Chain Lightning and different things you can do. And with every skill getting worse, I guess that helps out Arc Lash, right? As a basic? No, I don't know. But, yeah, Sork, really, really confusing changes. They had the one skill, the one passive ability that helps them kind of scale and keep up with classes in the Devouring Blaze, and that got nerfed. I guess technically, like, your Hydra and stuff is going to be a little bit better probably, because Hydra didn't really rely on vulnerable, and Conjuration got a pretty big buff. So, like, I mean, you could argue there's some playstyles that would be pretty decent. I think on hardcore, just like sitting back with Hydras and firewalls and stuff and letting things burn down with like slow, consistent progress might be okay. And there's a few different like aspects and hearts and synergies that might be fun with the Sorcerer, but I think it's going to be a little bit rough. I won't quite go F, but I'm going to go in C tier for Sorcerer in relation to the game. I do think it's still going to be lagging behind some of the other classes, but as we revisit that endgame tier list, maybe we can find some sort of synergy that we just can't see through yet, and something will end up shining through with the Sork, and it'll move up the board with an endgame tier list. So as of right now, I'm going to be going with the Rogue as just the generally best season starter, and then Druid, and then Barbarian, and then Necro, and then Sorcerer. And if you wanted me to rank them with each one having its own tier, ranking them 1 through 5, I would probably do this, I guess. Like if you forced me to spread them out 1 through 5. But, like, I don't know. I think Bone Spear is still going to be really good. It's tough for me to differentiate between Barb and Necro. I think you can really argue that these go in either direction like this. I know for me personally, I may end up going with the Necro just because I want to try like the two styles between the summons and the Bone Spear and give that a whirl and have the two different options available to me. But all of the other classes, like Whirlwind's going to be a great season starter. Druid's got all sorts of stuff they can do in the end game. Rogue is going to level probably the fastest. Like 1 to 60 is probably going to be the fastest on the Rogue still. They came through mostly unscathed. They're not going to be what they were probably, but didn't get like slammed, I think, in that early game process. So not going to be as fast as it was maybe before in the preseason, but they're still going to be leveling up pretty decent compared to the other classes, I think. And then, like I said, I will do a different iteration of this, and we'll talk about the end game. If I had to predict and guess, without being able to test the end game yet, without being able to level up to 100 and all of that, if I had to predict, I would probably swap this around and go something like this. So for end game, we do something probably looking like this. So, and if I had to spread them out in their different tiers, I would probably do something like this. You go like Druid, and then Necro, and then Rogue, and then Barb, and then Sorcerer. Something like that's what I'm going to go on record predicting, and then we'll revisit that in a week or two and see if I was right. But as far as the season starters, I think Rogue, solid choice, and then Druid, awesome choice. Barbarian, still going to be mostly fine, and then Necro is going to end up scaling super well, and early game, the summons might be fun and all of that, and the poor Sag Sorcerer is still going to be kind of bringing up the rear, and hopefully we get some adjustments, or we discover some new ways to play the Sorcerer and get some extra value out of that class. And also keep in mind that Blizzard is going to be giving us a campfire chat. We had Adam Fletcher here tweeting out that we've been hearing feedback from players regarding some of the changes in 1.1 for Season 1. And we're going to be having a campfire chat later this week on Friday. So going to be coming up tomorrow where we're going to get a little bit of clarification, hopefully, from Blizzard as to what they're thinking. I mean, it can't hurt at this point. This is probably one of the worst received patches I've ever seen in Diablo history. I played almost all seasons of Diablo 3. There was like 28 of them, and there was definitely some bad received changes and patches. I don't remember anything as universally kind of backlashed as this Season 1 Diablo 4 patch, and it has been a wild ride for Diablo 4. When it came out, it was nothing but sunshine and glowing reviews and amazing hype, and everybody kind of loved the beta in general, and then it's just kind of slowly been trickling down since then, and then this patch just met with insane amounts of backlash. So hopefully the campfire chat goes well and we get a little bit of clarification, and once we dive in and sink our teeth in to some of the stuff in Season 1, hopefully it ends up being a little bit better than the sentiment is expecting out there, and I will definitely do everything I can to cover it for you here on the channel. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on the class tier list here as a season starter, and then I will also try to get an updated version of the full out build season starter tier list, and I'll try to do that discussion like tonight or tomorrow and really get that up to date with a collaboration with another creator or something like that. But I appreciate all of you. It would mean a lot to earn your sub down below if you enjoy daily Diablo 4 content, and I will see you in Season 1 and the next video. Peace.